What's one subtle sign of low intelligence? Why trying to expand their own horizons to make discoveries of their own by utilizing learning, by forming their own understandings based on what they learn, and by using creativity to apply knowledge. The subtle way this shows up is seemingly only to be able to understand ideas as wrong or right. They have great difficulty understanding, enjoying, appreciating, or seeing the value of shades of grey. Anger. I don't mean occasional anger. I mean people who are just angry all the time. I know this is probably more a mental health issue than intelligence related, but I feel like the angriest people in my life have tended to be the least intelligent. It can be hard having a conversation with them because their logic is always trying to assume the worst about every situation regardless of the facts. This is just my general experience, though I don't know if there's a correlation. People who see most things as black and white. Just because an individual has certain beliefs, it doesn't mean that they are necessarily a bad person, belonging to one group of religion, politics, etc. doesn't make them a bad person, and each individual has their reasons and is different. If you automatically put your own biases on people you don't know, that screams ignorant and low intelligence to me. For all the devil advocates extreme views of any kind are bad. I do not allow Facebook Meter or any other Facebook Meter related person to use my photos, information, messages, both in the past and in the future. This statement I inform Facebook Meter that it is strictly prohibited to disclose, copy, distribute or take any other action against me based on this account or its contents. This account content is private and confidential information. Violation of my personal life may be punished by law. People who get freaked out and call you random when you're being funny goofy. It takes high intelligence to be able to let loose and goof around, make silly jokes, when light-hearted banter is met with a you hi that's weird so random. Okay, it signals to me that they are unable to use their environment to make puns or goof around and get intimidated, then resort to judgment of you joking around. Sight of your own. Healthy communication is being able to listen, inquire, and try to understand why people believe something and then politely disagreeing if you haven't changed your mind and saying why. If you can't do this, and you have missed a lot of learning in life, and have solitary confinement in your own generational echo chamber of a mind. I think a lack of compassion. Compassion is so closely related to the ability to see things from a different perspective point of view than your own. Ligent people who lack compassion because they're not nice people. But I think there are also people who just don't have the ability to consider those other perspectives, and it colors their worldview. Person unsolicitedly and randomly gives trivial pieces of knowledge in a niche area. I assume they are novices in that area who are trying to flex on people who have completely zero knowledge about it. If you really knew your stuff and had knowledge to show off, it wouldn't be about things that can be learned on the first day. Being overly trusting. Most of the responses in this thread are approaching the question as if low intelligence is a moral failing. But I've known some very kind and genuine people who aren't very intelligent. People with low intelligence often don't read situations or people well, and have a childlike trust in everyone they meet. Ways of not knowing. Selective observation, only valuing information that supports your confirmation bias. Casual observation, associating results from one scenario to anything else that vaguely relates. Authority tradition, accepting facts and beliefs purely because that's what your parents taught you or society promotes. Worship idols, a person. Good indication that you can't form your own thoughts, opinions, and rely on others to do the thinking for you. Good indication that you are easily swayed and led. You're the pawn in a game of chess. In a good game of chess, no pawns ever reach the other side and advance. They resent successful and self-made wealthy people instead of aspiring to acquire the same success and wealth. They say, why do they get to have what they have? Instead of asking, hey, if we both started from the same similar circumstances, what could I do to achieve the same success? Limited vocabulary and language skills is a subtle sign if someone has an intellectual disability or impairment. One thinks some of these answers are projections, like they won't change their mind when presented with new information, is also known as why won't they admit I'm right. People smiling and implicitly agreeing with you. You could probably argue that that's a sign of high emotional intelligence, but I'd argue that it's more likely a minor behavior that's just been accidentally reinforced. Maybe you're boring or just correct. Hence the subtlety. When someone tried to argue generalities, taller than hockey player, naming a random hockey player that's taller than a bunch of basketball players shows that you can't have a productive conversation or any topics that involve general trends. Rigidity of belief, unwillingness to even consider they may be wrong. I assume it stems from insecurity over their intelligence, or maybe a complete lack of understanding of the topic they claim to have a stance on. That whatever the reason may be, it's a huge red flag. Pronunciation. The way people talk and how they pronounce their words can give you a general idea of how smart someone is. Unless of course they have a speech impediment. Then it's kinda up in the air, and you'll need to pay more attention to their vocabulary. Claiming how smart you are. Flaunting things like IQ score, constantly talking about how smart you were back in time, or just refusing to acknowledge the truth when it's staring them in the face. I know way too many people like this. Closed-mindedness. I've known some academically challenged people who were always open to learning and new experiences, and it was a delight and ease to speak with them. Closed-minded people are the worst to talk to. Reacting harshly, violently, vindictively, vengefully when called stupid. Smart people tend to laugh to themselves, ignore it, or simply allow the accuser to carry on, giving them enough rope to hang themselves. They are slow and clumsy when they have to do some tasks. They get a lot of things wrong and don't know a lot about many subjects people should know about. I can't deal with them. They get so much on my nerves. Quick answers, all the time. Smart people can answer quickly, but sometimes they have to think about it. Less smart people think that answering quickly is more important than answering correctly. An inability to admit when you've done something wrong, if you don't know the answer to a question, or to apologize when you've caused harm. Arrogance and ignorance are the cornerstones of low intelligence. Usually by sense of humor, how witty they are to think of something on the spot. If someone immediately resorts to finding due to a joke, then it shows they're not smart enough to think of anything clever. Not being able to stay silent. There are times when nothing you say can add anything to the discourse. Low intelligent people will be either unable to recognize or unwilling to acknowledge the impasse. The inability to emphasize and understand other perspectives outside your own. If you can't connect with people, you're gonna have a difficult time building connections and working your way up, using like as a conversation filler. That is so, stupid. It's genuinely unreal, You know what I'm saying. Disclaimer just for jokes. Don't be offended, just be better. Law. Admiring a politician. Thinking a politician is a hero just because they say things that sound good to them. Having a point of view on politics or economics totally based on emotions. Thinking you are smart and a great critical thinker when you are not. Sharing things on Facebook that say see everything I predicted has been proven correct when none of it has. Being for something that would end up harming you at some point in the future. For right-wingers completely banning abortion. For left-wingers queers, for Palestine sort of shit. Anyone who thinks they have it all figured out, humanity, women, the world, God, the afterlife, whatever. Someone who doesn't understand the ubiquity of uncertainty. People who accept the logical fallacy of appeal to authority and believe what authorities tell them, even when authority's incentives are to lie, cheat, and steal. In students, it's the fact that they are failing at everything you are teaching, but they still love coming to school and are one of the most joyful kids in class. People who are overly compliant or overly rebellious. Both parties are either unable or unwilling to balance the scale for their benefit and benefit of others, jumping on whatever internet bandwagon is popular right now without giving it any thought as to what the motivations of whoever started it might be. Asking someone a question and then not listening to them and cutting them off mid-sentence with a "fuck it, I don't care, I don't understand" lol. Small vocabulary and excessive cursing. If everything is just fucking this and fucking that, it doesn't indicate a lot of positives to me. I'd say lack of curiosity, lack of resourcefulness. while not exactly the same. I find these to very often come together with some people. Solving problems with violence killing and assuming that solving problems with violence killing is normal and what everyone should do. Strawmanning, struggling to comprehend basic arguments, lack of common sense, reverting to emotional and anger rather than logic, repeating the same pun joke over and over again to the same group of people and honestly expecting a laugh every time. I think that someone with a low IQ is someone who doesn't have a sense of humor or can't understand dark humor jokes. When your two remaining brain cells have to rub each other for warmth to keep your IQ above the room's temperature, knowing everything. They always can do something, do it better than anyone else, always trying to one-up you, asking for subtle signs of low intelligence. Bonus points if they reply with an answer to the above question, not catching on to what is your job but still coming in. You are the boss. Yeah, you can't stand you. The inability to change your mind when faced with new information which contradicts your former position. Asking this same stupid question over and over and over and over and watching people repeatedly answer it. People who are addicted to social media, especially short-term content like TikTok and Instagram stories. Lack of curiosity. Being closed-minded. Unable to make decisions. No empathy, easily frustrated, never engaging with details because they're a big picture guy, or an ideas man or some such term, not exactly subtle, but immediately pointing fingers and assigning blame when something goes wrong. Conservative beliefs. Smart people want to make things better. Dummies think the past was better.